We will call this property tax division April 3rd meeting to order. We have quorum. We can conduct lawful business. First on the agenda is to approve the meeting minutes. Chair Gomez.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I would like to move approval of the minutes.
Okay, so we have a motion. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Motion carries. Okay, we have a very a busy agenda today, so we're going to try to be efficient in this process. So right up, we have House File 5164, Chair Vang. So Chair moves that House File 5164 be laid over for possible inclusion in the Property Tax Division report. It is to your bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members. House File 5164 is asking to establish a TIF district in Brooklyn Center as part of our efforts to revitalize our city. So Brooklyn Center is a landlocked bedroom city, so our ability to expand outward is limited. So we have to focus on the vacant land that we have within the city. So this TIF will be within the Opportunity site, which is an 80-acre redevelopment site. We're hoping to bring in 4,000 new units of housing, retail space, and employment opportunities. We are envisioning a new downtown center and destination that offers green space, amenities, shopping, dining, and entertainment options. I have city staff here with me today who can provide answers to technical questions, and my mayor is here today to further explain the importance of this TIF district.
Thank you, Chair Vang. Mayor April Graves, please come to the table, state your name for the record, and proceed with your testimony.
Good morning, Mayor April Graves, Brooklyn Center. First off, I want to thank the Honorable Chair Lislegard and committee members for taking time to hear our request. And also thank you, Representative Vang, for introducing the bill and for all your work in Brooklyn Center. Brooklyn Center is a community with a great deal of need. The community has experienced significant disinvestment over the last several decades, which has eroded our tax base. The Opportunity site will expand Brooklyn Center's entire tax base and provide many benefits to the region. As you consider the city's request for special TIF legislation, please keep in mind a few important facts. Brooklyn Center is the most diverse community in the region. 57% of our residents are people of color, and a quarter are foreign-born. Brooklyn Center has the lowest median income in the region and the highest property tax rate in Hennepin County. Brooklyn Center residents, in fact, pay 73% more for the exact same city services as residents in surrounding suburbs. And this is an issue of economic resiliency that affects the entire region. Yet despite this, Brooklyn Center is rich with cultural diversity and has a resilient and entrepreneurial spirit. We're home to more small businesses per capita than any other suburb in Hennepin County. As Representative Vang said, the 80-acre Opportunity site redevelopment area is one of our most significant development opportunities within our city. We've made some significant investments in the acquisition and demolition of properties within the site to achieve redevelopment goals. The entire project would bring up to 4,000 new units of housing, 130,000 square feet of retail space, and up to 400,000 square feet of employment opportunities. The project would expand Brooklyn Center's entire tax base by approximately 12%. The goal of the Opportunity site is to create a downtown center and a signature destination that offers both green space and has amenities that will drive the city's future economic growth by serving the entire region. With the current interest rate and cost environment, the planned projects that we have a financial gap that we need to solve, and TIF is the primary tool the city has to solve those gaps. Many of the buildings have already been torn down. Much of the area will no longer qualify as a redevelopment TIF district under existing statute, which limits the city's options for using TIF. We need the ability to create redevelopment TIF districts within the Opportunity site to help get these projects built. The city has created a TIF district on a small portion of the site in 2016, and unfortunately the project has not been able to proceed. The remaining years of increment are not enough to achieve financial feasibility for the project, and Atlantis, our selected developer, has had to back off on approximately 16 acres Phase 1 project until there's a better path to financial feasibility. So the city would like to start over with a new district on the site, And without the special legislation, the areas would no longer qualify. The city proposes special legislation that will allow for the creation of one or more redevelopment TIF districts within the opportunity site, even if those areas cannot qualify based on existing statutory requirements. I thank you for your time today, and I'll be happy to stand for any questions.
Thank you. No one else is signed up to testify. Anyone in the audience want to speak for or against? Seeing none, member discussion. Representative Wang.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And it appears as if on the site is a, sports area, ball field. So is the idea to have that relocated, or is that going to be something that's lost to the community?
Ms. Graves.
Chair, committee members, I don't believe that there is a ball field currently on the opportunity site.
Representative Kwong.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. If I actually look at the opportunity site today picture, I see looks like a ball field diamond, and I just, be nice to understand if there are any existing park, recreational, those type of areas, and if they'd be lost to the community. So that's why I asked the question, and maybe next time we can get more accurate pictures, I guess. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Would you like to make a comment, Ms. Graves?
Yes, please. Thank you, Chair. Actually, I think what you're referring to is our City Hall campus and Centennial Park, which is not part of the opportunity site, but is very close by. So we wouldn't be losing any parkland. In fact, we'd be adding more green space.
Thank you. Chair Gomez.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and good to see you, Mayor Graves. Thanks for being here. I just wonder, so is because the term opportunity site isn't, it may be a little bit unfamiliar, and is this related to federal opportunity zone? And just wondering if you could tell me a little bit about that.
Mayor Graves.
It's been thank you, Chair. It's been a bit of a process, but I'll defer to our Economic Development Director.
Please state your name for the record and. It's like musical chairs.
Yep.
You play
Hi,
music
my name
or
is-
something.
My name is Jesse Anderson. I'm the Community Development Director for the City of Brooklyn Center. There is no efforts specifically related to opportunity zones on this site. The name Opportunity Site actually came long before Opportunity Zone came about, so they're not technically related.
Chair Gomez.
So this isn't designated as a federal opportunity zone, or it is?
Yep. Madam Chair, Mr. Chair, Commissioners, or committee members, it is in an Opportunity Zone, yes.
Okay.
Chair Gomez.
Thank you. And so, the intent of low-income opportunity zones, which were created by the federal government, I think in 2017, were to attract basically outside investment in exchange for tax incentives. And so I'm just wondering if you can, have you attracted that kind of investment? Can you tell me a little bit about it or about the scale of it, if it's happening?
Mr. Anderson.
I actually defer to our.
Sorry, I don't mean to be like.
Nope.
Looks like we need more chairs up there.
Yep, Mr. Chair, committee members will. Yep.
Please state your name for the record and proceed.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. My name is Jason Arsvold. I am with Ehlers and Associates. We're the financial advisor for the city on this project. And this isn't an opportunity zone. We have been working with several different development groups that are seeking equity investment from entities that are aware of that fact and have taken that into consideration in terms of trying to make the project financially feasible. But even with that assistance that's out there, they have still not been able to clear the hurdle to get this done. So it hasn't been enough in and of itself to help that move forward.
Chair Gomez.
But there has been investment, like the opportunity zone and the tax incentives associated with it from the feds have attracted investment that you think otherwise would not have come to the site?
Mr. Oswald.
Thank you. Yes, as of today, there hasn't been any really new investment in the site. Some real estate transactions that have occurred, but nothing new in the way of development as a result of that.
Chair Gomez.
Thank you. I don't mean to be like grilling you about it. It's sort of just an interest of mine. I was somebody who is cares about tax policy and you know, and I think that there were sort of good parts about designating some of, you know, opportunity zones, but I'm curious because in my city, it hasn't worked out the way that people thought it was going to. And so I'm always just kind of curious when I see other ones that have been established, like, is the investment actually coming, you know, is it actually a thing? And so I just appreciate the information, and sorry to have everybody shuffling around up there. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Anyone else? Representative Anderson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to help the city. Looking at the language, it says this expires in 2030, December 31st. Is that enough time to do what you want to do, or will something go on further than, that's less than 6 years away?
Mr.
Mr.
Oswald.
Chair, members of the committee, that date is something that was negotiated on the Senate side of the bill. We think we need at least that long. The build out of this project is probably 10 to 20 years. So we suspect that we'd probably, you know, depending on how the project moves forward into the future, may have to be back. But we were happy to have at least that amount of time to work through the things that we need to work through.
Representative Anderson. Anyone else? Closing comments. Chair Vang.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is an important priority for our city, and so I appreciate the committee's time and support.
Thank you. The chair renews his motion that House File 5164 be laid over for possible inclusion in the Property Tax Division report. The bill is laid over. Okay. Next up is House File 5213. Representative Keeler. So Chair moves that House File 5213 be laid over for possible inclusion into the Property Tax Division report. Welcome, Representative.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi, Chair.
Hi.
Hi, committee. Hi, tax people. Happy to be here. This is a bill to just extend our TIF from 5 years to 10 years. We're working on this really awesome new project in downtown Moorhead. It was an old mall, and Herberger's left as a whole entire department, and so from there, it's kind of gone downhill. So we're revitalizing 18 acres downtown Moorhead. If you've been to Moorhead, this will be something really beautiful for us and be a fantastic draw. And so with that, I'll stop talking and hand it over to my testifier, who probably knows much more and will be able to answer more questions than I will. Thank you, Chair.
Wonderful. Please state your name for the record and proceed with your testimony.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and committee members. My name is Derek LaPointe. I'm the President and CEO of Downtown Moorhead, Inc. I also have a contract with the City of Moorhead to do economic services and provide services for Clay County as well. So many different hats in supporting our region. I have to thank Representative Keeler for bringing this forward. She's been a fantastic partner in just pushing this project along. This project has been about 6 years in the making. I started Downtown Moorhead, Inc. in 2018. The number one priority from the people in Moorhead was renovating our downtown project, specifically our Moorhead Center Mall, which has been distressed over a number of years. Certainly the retail market has changed, but also our business climate has changed too. So for us to be competitive, we needed to look at this very seriously. And I think the biggest factor that I think is worth mentioning to the committee here today is the size and scale of our site. So this was an urban renewal project. There was about 20 different owners, condo owners within the mall site, so individual business owners within the site. We've been working with a development partner over the last 5 years in acquisitions. Acquisitions just came to a close here at the end of this past year, so December of 2023. So we finally have site control and we're able to finally move forward. The reason for the request here today is purely the size and scope of this project. This is 18 acres. This is 10 mixed-use projects that we're looking at over the duration of the number of years. We have our first one actually breaking ground within the next couple of months. We also have our library community center site, and I'll just refer to the map in your packet here. Number one on the east side of the site, that is about a $40 million project that's breaking ground here in June. That one project alone has more value than the entire district as it sits right now. So a significant project. As mentioned, we have the library community center site, renovations of existing city hall, and then several, again, new mixed-use businesses that are going to bring in there. But the goal of this is really to create a neighborhood center, create a neighborhood destination, one that not only can we draw from our wonderful people in Moorhead and the representatives that exist here, but also draw across the river. We feel like we have the time and energy to truly be competitive along the river, and this is just a wonderful opportunity for us to proceed in that. As mentioned, we're looking for the support of the committee here, again, purely at the size and scope that we have. I'll mention again, just briefly, on the map that you have, we're looking at roughly about $500 million of investment in this site. So significant investment, and we look forward to your support in trying to make this project move forward. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions the committee may have.
Thank you. There is no one else up to testify. Anyone from the audience want to speak for or against? Seeing none, member discussion? Representative Anderson?
Thanks again, Mr. Chair. Just wondering, I think Moorhead's going to be having a big project with the at-grade rail crossing up downtown. Is this location close to that big project as well?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair and Representative. It is. So the intersection here is 7th Street on the east side. That major underpass is happening at 11th Street, so a few blocks further to the east here. We certainly are looking at the impacts of what that causes throughout our entire downtown. But knowing that is about a 3-year project, which is going to have some pains, we hope we can get a lot of development activity to stagger with that as well. The other thing that I think is worth mentioning too, with the number of buildings that are on this site, we want to be really cautious of the number of units that we're bringing online and not flooding the marketplace. We want to create opportunities for everyone. We've been working with senior housing partners, et cetera. So staging with our infrastructure projects as well as some of the staggering of projects to support the market, I think is going to be important for us as well. Thank you for your question.
Thank you. Seeing none, I would just, before I go to closing comments, Representative Keeler, I just want to thank you from Greater Minnesota. I know how hard you work for your district and the challenges that we face. So you bringing this forward, we're going to work very hard to have it included in the property tax division report. So closing comments.
Thank you, Chair and members. Thank you for taking this into consideration. Our side of the state is the fastest growing county in the state outside of Minneapolis, St. Paul. And so doing things like this really does make this a site that not only the generations now, but future generations can live and thrive and grow in our community. Like, I love being a mom and I love watching my kids grow in this community and just want that to be an opportunity for others. And I think this is a way to do that. So thank you all.
Thank you. Chair renews his motion that House File 5213 be laid over for possible inclusion in the 2024 Property Tax Division report. The bill is laid over. Okay, next up, we have House File 4340, Representative Niska. Chair moves that House File 4340 be laid over for possible inclusion in the Property Tax Division report. Representative Niska, to your bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. House File 4340 is a request from the City of Ramsey. It's a fairly minor technical change to the existing TIF district in the City of Ramsey as it relates to the interfund loan requirement and the expenses that have been paid already to that were authorized by the initial TIF district. And I have with me the city administrator from the City of Ramsey, Brian Hagan, to also testify about the bill. Thanks.
Thank you. Welcome to the committee. State your name for the record and proceed.
Thank you, committee. Brian Hagan, City Administrator for Ramsey. This district, it's a redevelopment district. It's been going on for a few years now, but included within it, it's really mixed use. So we've got a range of single-family townhomes all the way up to apartments, including affordable apartments, age-restricted apartments, as well as a number of commercial development that's occurred through the years. As far as public infrastructure goes, we're nearly complete with that. What this bill is really doing is, as Representative Niska noted, the investment to public infrastructure, which is a public parking ramp, a rail stop, along with roads around that area, were called out originally. We just want it clear, really, for the future as staffing changes and people at the state changes, that it's very clear that the interfund loans were not required for those projects. More recent public infrastructure projects that weren't really part of the original design, we have done interfund loans, so we're sitting in a good spot for the district. It's seeing some recent success, as noted in the handout that I provided you guys, and that private investment is coming.
Thank you. No one else is signed up to testify. Anyone from the audience want to testify for or against? Seeing none, member discussion. Representative Quam.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I'm noticing that just a little while ago, you went for a 5 and you were given a 2-year. It was during one of the terms I wasn't on the committee. I'm trying to understand, during that same time period, were there ones that got 5-year extensions? And why would the committee only give 2 instead of 5? Is there some rest of the story that isn't in the materials?
Would that go to nonpartisan you're looking for?
Mr. Chair and Representative Quam, I would have to go back to those session laws to see what that was, but this bill is not an extension of the 5-year rule. This has to do with the interfund loan requirements on lines 2.20 through 2.26. The 5-year rules extension were approved in prior years.
Representative Quam.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Looking at the materials that were provided to the committee members, it specifically says that they put in to extend the 5-year rules, in other words, to November 28th of 2026. However, and this was House File 9 in June of 2021, granted it only a 2-year extension. And the reason they're coming back here is to get the additional 3 years to be at a 5. To me, I'd like to understand if they went for 5, which sort of is a normal thing to do, was there any reason or justification to treat them differently and only give them 2? Maybe the testifier could illuminate us on that.
Thank you, Chair. So that extension happened a little bit before my time with the city, but as I understand it, we did receive one 5-year extension, and then through COVID and obviously the recession years ago, we asked for an additional 5-year extension. 2 was given at that time. So last year, we really recognized that development is interested in the area. Again, we have some roads that we need to construct in order to aid that development. So we came back and asked for just really the difference of the 3 years to get us to November of 2026. So right now, we are not asking for any extension of time to incur costs. We're not asking for any extension of time to collect that revenue. So the district, from a timing and the dates that have been approved, we're not asking for any change. We really just are requesting this clarification on the interfund loan requirement.
Representative Quam.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The whole line of questioning is to try to understand on TIF and all these things, it's a normal process to go for and get these extensions. And whenever there's something outside the normal, which this appeared to be, it'd be nice to understand why this city was being treated different than all the numerous other cities. But, I guess we may never know. But I guess I'm for giving them now the treatment that they asked for a few years ago, to be treated like everybody else and get those 3 years added to the 2. Thank you,
I'm with
Mr. Chair.
I want to treat them like that, too. All right, anyone else? Closing comments, Representative.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you for your consideration. I know we're not going to solve all the mysteries today, but this is a good, helpful clarification for the city of Ramsey, so I appreciate your consideration. Thanks.
Thank you. Chair renews his motion that House File 4340 be laid over for possible inclusion in the Property Tax Division report. The bill is laid over. Thank you. All right, I will turn the gavel over to the Vice Chair.
So we can cover this.
Okay, as the chair gets ready, Chair Lislegard moves that House File 3864 be laid over for possible inclusion in the Property Tax Division report. Is that your motion?
That is my motion, Madam Chair.
Okay, to your bill.
Well, thank you, Madam Chair and members. Today, I have for your consideration House File 3864, a bill regarding to township aid. I have a number of townships in my district, and that I'm proud to carry this bill and to represent them. The bill does two things. It increases the annual appropriation from 10 to 11.5 million a year. It ensures that the entire appropriation be distributed to townships across the state. The Township Aid Program was created in 2014, and it has not been adjusted since. So I think this is a really good bill, and with me, I have a testifier with the Minnesota Association of Townships.
Great. Welcome to the committee. Please state your name and your affiliation for the record.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, members of the committee, for considering this bill. My name is Graham Berg-Moberg. I'm a staff attorney with the Minnesota Association of Townships, and we strongly support this bill. Just to put things in perspective, I think, for the committee, there are about 5.7 million Minnesotans. About 928,000 of them live in townships, so ballpark 16% of the population. Last available numbers, 2022, published by the Office of the State Auditor, ballpark 563 million in general purpose state aid went to cities. The equivalent number for townships was about 71 million. If it was proportional to population, it would be in the ballpark of 90. So just in terms of the size of the increase that we're asking for is relatively modest compared to the fraction of the population that we served. As Representative Lislegard has mentioned, this program was founded in 2014, and while we are very grateful, it hasn't been increased since that time. Finally, I'd like to just mention that one of the things that makes us unique and interesting as a form of government is that our voters get to vote directly on our levy, which means that the legislature can be confident that this money will be going to property tax relief and appropriate causes. So thank you for your consideration.
Great. That is what I have for a list of testifiers. Is there anyone in the audience who'd like to testify on this bill? Okay, seeing none, we'll move to member discussion. I have Lead Quam.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And to the author, when you're doing this, and I notice you've got an area factor, one thing I hear from townships, miles of roads. And it varies because sometimes there are a lot of county roads or, et cetera. And I've had bills over the years that would give, say $1,000 per mile of road to be in an account so that if they needed to do some work, they had the money up front, they could replace a culvert, et cetera. And when I've talked to townships, keeping up the roads and the bridges is a huge portion of the financial burden. And when looking at the factors given, I would have hoped that when you made some changes, you added weight to roads that the townships have to maintain, because that is, I think, one of the core things. So, if this is going to be included, maybe there's enough time to see if we could improve that. Or maybe we could work together in future years to do that. Thank you, Mr. Author.
Thank you, Madam Chair and Lee Quam. I think that conversations moving forward, the bill's not going to become law today, and I'm always willing to work to improve.
Okay, well, Rep. Anderson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Chair Lislegard, I fully support the bill. But just wondering, the original intent of this this fixed constant, and what it was intended for in the first place, if you know, and you're eliminating that to get the full amount to be available for the townships. Talk about what that does or what that did and what you're trying to do with it.
I'm going to give this question to Mr. Swanson.
Madam Chair and Representative Anderson, as was already said, this aid was established in 2014. I'm not really sure why that sort of factor was included in the formula. My assumption is that at the time, the value of the factors along with that number in the formula actually spent the full amount, so it got the township's rate at that $10 million appropriation. As the factors have shifted over time, what that constant in the formula has done is sort of resulted in less than the $10 million being spent on an annual basis. I don't know the exact background, but that's my assumption, is that at the time this was passed, that was sort of resulting in the full 10 million being spent each year, but now that's not the case.
And it looks like Mr. Berg-Moberg has maybe comments.
Madam Chair, thank you. That is my understanding. I also was not around during the conversations in 2014, but that is my understanding of the original intent there.
Rep. Anderson? No. All right, seeing no further discussion, closing comments?
Thank you, Madam Chair and committee members, and thank you for the discussion. This is important to, townships, and they serve a large variety of people across the state of Minnesota and mainly rural. So I would appreciate any consideration in this moving forward. Thank you.
Great. Chair renews his motion that House File 3864 be laid over for possible inclusion in the Property Tax Division report. The bill is laid over. Okay.
Thank you.
Yep. So next we have House File 5198. Chair Lislegard, I understand there's an author's amendment. Do you want to move that first?
Yes, I would move the author's amendment to get the bill in the proper shape.
Okay. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Any opposed? Okay, the amendment is adopted. House File 5198, as amended, is now in front of the Property Tax Division. To your bill, Chair.
Well, thank you, Madam Chair. The taconite homestead credit reduces the tax paid by homeowners located primarily on the Mesabi and Vermilion range located within the taconite relief area. The properties receiving this credit are owner-occupied homes and owners of farms. This credit has been frozen at $298.80 outside of towns and $315 per home or farm since 1998. In the meantime, we all know that property taxes have been on the rise. This legislation increases the taconite homestead credit to $515 for all eligible homes and farms within the taconite relief area. This is an increase of 63 to 77% in property tax relief, and it is permanent. It is not a one-year tax credit, but will remain ongoing moving forward. This gives the working people and the families and seniors more than $200 of direct tax cuts. And before I turn it over to Jared, I'm going to have him walk through the bill. I just want to say that when you look at the Iron Range and you look at the communities as a whole and how it is structured, some of the poorest communities are within the taconite relief area, and they produce the majority of the wealth. And so production tax in lieu of property taxes is something that was created, rightfully so, because when you have all these different locations and mines, people from all over the Iron Range, they all work there. And if it was strictly property taxes, only certain communities would be the ones that benefit. And I just want to read this to you because it'll put things in perspective for you. Excuse me. Technology. I'm the last guy that should have a phone in his hand. But anyway, tax capacity per person, okay? And that is based on how many people live in the community versus the property wealth, whether it's business or homes. Cross Lake, 2,490 people live in Cross Lake. Their tax capacity per person is $9,298 per person. The bottom 5 out of 6, Chisholm, $350 a person. Eveleth, $357 a person. Aurora, $416 a person. Virginia, $481 a person. We produce the most, but we are the poorest communities. And what this bill aims to do is to focus on this area. And so with that, Madam Chair, if I could have Jared walk through the bill.
Sure. Mr. Swanson.
Madam Chair and members, as Representative Lislegard said, this bill as amended would increase the maximum amount of the taconite homestead credit to $515. So this credit is a property tax credit available to homesteads within the taconite relief area on the Iron Range, and it is funded by the taconite production tax revenues. But for certain areas within the taconite relief area, the credit is equal to 66% of the tax due on the property, up to a maximum amount of $315.10. And then for other areas within the taconite relief area, the credit is equal to 57% of the tax due on the property, up to a maximum amount of $289.80. This bill would increase both of those maximum amounts up to $515.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Swanson. I think we're moving to testifiers next. Great. Well, welcome to the committee. Mr. Pittman, please state your name and your affiliation for the record.
Thank you, Chair Lee. My name is Ron Pittman, and I am a homeowner and property owner in Cherry Township in St. Louis County. I am also honored to serve on the town board. I am proud of our little community, and we put a great effort to preserve our fire hall, our recreation fields, and to support our small school. That is the Cherry School, which just won the boys' Class A high school basketball championship.
Excellent.
And we are sending our star basketball player from that team to the University of Minnesota as a Division I basketball player. So in return, I'm here asking you to support.
I see you understand how it works here.
So in return, I am here asking you to support Representative Lislegard's bill, providing a bit of support of our homeowners and farmers by increasing the taconite homestead credit by $200. This credit has been frozen at $315 for most people since 1998. I can tell you, and I trust you will believe me, that the cost of electricity, health insurance, eggs, and bread have not been frozen since 1998. We need a little tax relief, and this bill deserves your support. My neighbors, my senior citizens, and working people will thank you and Representative Lislegard for it. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. I don't have any more folks on my list of witnesses, but wondering if anyone in the audience would like to testify on this bill. Okay, seeing none, let's move to member discussion. Oh, Representative Garofalo.
Thank you. For our nonpartisan staff in the revenue analysis detail, it talks about the cost being $3.52 million in 25 and then $7.05 million in 26 and beyond. But then later in the note, it mentions that the larger credit would reduce property tax refunds. And so there's an offset there. Is that embedded in the $7 million number? Is it those numbers, or is it not?
Ms. Hamer?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair and Representative Garofalo. In terms of the first question, so we do see a difference in the fiscal impact between fiscal year 25 and 26 and 27. I believe I'm trying to find it here in the revenue estimate that it's because 50% is paid in each year, and therefore there's an increase in the tails. In terms of the general fund total, that $890 is not included in that total expenditure, and the taconite property tax relief fund total is a separate account, and we see an expenditure in that account, and we do see a cost savings in the general fund of $890,000 for both of the fiscal year 26 and 27.
Rep. Garofalo?
Yep, thank you.
Okay, and apologies, I meant Ms. Highmark. Next, I have Rep. Coulter.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and excuse me. Really just wanted to thank you, Chair Lislegard, for bringing this forward. I think one of my focuses on this committee really has been working to build a property tax system that just works better for everybody all the way around. And I see this really as a step forward in that direction in terms of focusing relief where it's clearly most needed. So thank you.
Great. Well, seeing no further member discussion, Chair Lislegard, closing comments.
Well, thank you, Madam Chair. I do want to call out Councillor White, who is here as well. She's from Meadowlands. And then I have the Mayor of Aurora, Doug Greger, here as well, along with resident Dave Skelton. This is a very, very big deal to Northeast Minnesota and the core Iron Range that has been struggling. So this is a very, very important, and I appreciate all your support as we move this bill forward. Thank you.
Great.
And yes, we are sending somebody to D1.
Excellent. All right, with that, Chair Lislegard renews his motion that House File 5198, as amended, be laid over for possible inclusion in the Property Tax Division report. The bill is laid over.
Okay. Next up, we have House File 1342. Representative Elkins moves that House File 1342 be laid over for possible inclusion in the Property Tax Division report. I do have a note here. It says this bill was heard in 2023, but we're going to hear it again just because it's you and it's a good bill.
Well,
Please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Actually, we're going to hear it because we do have an author's amendment, A1 amendment, which I'd like to offer to update the effective date to move it back a year. And we did receive a revenue note that basically says that the impacts are pretty much zero to the state and generally unknown. The idea of a land value tax is that you raise the taxes on undeveloped properties, lower them on developed properties. It should be revenue neutral at the district level, but you're just trying to discourage the speculative holding of vacant land. And yeah, and that's what we talked about last year.
Thank you so much. So there is an author's amendment. He just explained it. All those in favor? Say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carried. Okay, I think that's it.
Yeah.
All right, member discussion. Representative Quam.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. One of the concerns I have is that you say we're worried about speculation, but, you know, vacant lots that are kept up or not kept up have a big impact on, you know, the area. And if somebody's looking at doing a development, helping out the community, and they pick up some land, you know, sometimes it's timing. We picked it up, we know that there's a plan to improve this interchange, or X, Y, or Z is going to happen in a few years, but it came on the market, so we picked it up. I think that's, you know, a good thing. But now if we're discouraging people that are thinking of developing to picking up vacant properties, then you end up more likely having, you know, unkept you know, properties that actually degrade the area. So I wish that cities would absolutely look at all the aspects. I think there are some downsides to this bill. And so I guess that I've got some caution with it, but thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Chair Gomez.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Representative Elkins, for bringing this forward. And I definitely hear your concerns, and you know, which is why I'm kind of glad that this is sort of a. It really puts it in the hands of the local government to decide when and how to use this tool, so that, you know, you're not having any unintended consequences in areas where we know that there's sort of like, you're in kind of a holding pattern and that there will eventually be development in that place. But, this, I just wanted to say, like, you guys all probably know that I represent the district where the Minneapolis Police Department killed George Floyd, and there was a civil unrest afterwards. And, one of the sort of main kind of intersections in my community is Lake Street and Chicago Avenue. And there are, issues, development issues. I mean, there's a lot, it's expensive and complex to build new stuff, right? When things have been burned to the ground, which is what happened there. And so, if you go to that particular intersection today, you'll see that there are empty lots. There are two of them, two of the four corners are buildings that burned down. There's also this hotel that is right there in the intersection, which was damaged really heavily during the civil unrest. And, over many, many years since then, over all of the time since then, people have been talking to this property owner, like, hey, we want, we could turn this hotel into housing. The county would buy it. I was trying to broker like a deal with this hotel owner and the county back in 2020 when this all first went down. And he just literally does not want to sell the property because he knows it's right on the Greenway. It's right on a transit. There's a really busy transit stop right there. He knows that if he sits on this property and waits us out, he can jack the price up and make a lot of money. In the meantime, we literally have this giant hotel that, like, drive by it if you're ever in that area. I mean, it looks like it's like bombed out, and there's just nothing happening there. And, it's literally just speculation. And when a community's gone through something like we went through in my neighborhood, like, those things matter. I mean, they matter in terms of, like, in really material ways, I think, because it, like, prevents, things from progressing and moving forward. And it also matters kind of, like, psychologically, and it matters in, like, whether you drive through my neighborhood and you see that good things are happening there or not. And, like, there are wonderful things happening, of course, in our community, because we, have a very resilient community full of people doing awesome things. But it's like, when that isn't reflected in the streetscape, and, I've said this, like, if you have a main street in your town, like, Lake Street is like the main street of the south side of Minneapolis. And in this very important intersection, there's just this, like, bombed out building that is just there so that somebody can make $10 million more than he wants, than he could today. And our city should have a tool to ensure that, like, the public good is provided for in these situations. And so I'm really appreciative of you for bringing this forward, and I'm looking forward to just, seeing what is possible. Because I'm sure that this hotel isn't the only example of a situation like this where there's really just, by any definition, a blighted property that's kind of just sitting there, bringing down the value and bringing down the vibes in a neighborhood. So thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Closing comments.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, we got a list going on here. All right.
Okay.
I got Representative Quam, Gomez, Quam, okay. Representative Quam.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And one of the concerns that I didn't state but was illuminated is if the city doesn't like a specific property owner or thinks that we should decide what's done with something, they could utilize this to force something. One of the issues about waiting is not just the good things of there's going to be an improvement to the infrastructure, et cetera, but it could also be because of current crime levels. We want to wait for things to settle down and stabilize before we look at doing an investment. It's going to take a while for police departments to actually hire to the level of where they can respond to normal, regular calls. And, frankly, we're government and we know better than you is, I think, an abuse of government. So if there were some appeals, checks and balances, et cetera, that might be, make this more palatable to avoid situations. But I've seen, especially in small towns, of where, the mayor and city council didn't like a certain business person or resident, and they utilized the government powers to exert bad influence. But thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Representative Quam. And I think there's outliers wherever, in every community, in every situation, but I know up in my area, there's certain situations when I was on the city council that we didn't act when we should have acted. And now we're, the current mayor and city council is facing and living with actions that weren't taken, that should have been taken for the greater good of the community. So I agree with you that, government always doesn't know best. I think nonpartisan is pretty smart. But overall, I think that there's outliers in both. So I do agree with you. Closing comments.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, thank you. I mean, a reminder that this is discretionary. I expect cities will use it strategically, and there is an appeals process included in the bill.
Thank you. All right, Representative Elkins renews his motion that House File 1342 as amended be laid over for possible inclusion in the Property Tax Division report. The bill is laid over. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next up, we have House File 5177, Representative Gillman, and she, don't know if she's got anybody going to D1, but she's got treats.
There we go.
She's got treats. Ooh, she knows how to win hearts. All right,
Mr. Chair, we can dispense with the bill.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Let's just eat. So, Chair moves that House File 5177 be laid over for possible inclusion in the Property Tax Division report. To your bill, Representative Gillman.
Thank you so much. I would love to have a testifier share a couple things first.
Sure.
If you don't mind. Thanks, Chair.
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, my name is Nathan Jess, and I represent the League of Minnesota Cities. So this bill is what's commonly referred to as an LGA penalty forgiveness bill. If you've been on this committee before, you've seen probably a couple of these each year. The League works closely with cities and the Office of the State Auditor to get cities in compliance with audit requirements to make sure that we get to a point where cities are getting their LGA payments on time. This past year, we had 40 cities miss their first payment, but ultimately get in compliance. What you have here is just a case of the city of Stewart being in between city clerks at the time. The previous clerk is now actually helped the city get in compliance with audit requirements, so they're currently in compliance with the Office of the State Auditor. And because we're still before June 30th, if you pass this bill this year, there's essentially a zero general fund cost because unused LGA cancels back to the general fund on June 30th. So if this were passed in future years, there would be a cost. So that's kind of the lay of the land for this bill, but that's just the details. I'm sure Representative Gillman wants to close this out.
Representative Gillman.
Great. Thank you, Chair Lislegard. And again, thanks so much for the short notice hearing. It means a lot to folks. And thank you so much, Chair Gomez, too, for the conversation. So folks of Stewart, Minnesota are going to be very grateful for this hearing today and just the good news that they will be able to move forward. And so, yeah, so grateful for this. Very quick.
Well, thank you for bringing this forward. Anyone else want to testify in the audience for or against? Seeing none, member discussion or Representative Hewitt.
Mr. Chair, and I don't know if this is a question for staff, just kind of curious, how much of this stuff actually defaults? How many LGA payments default?
Mr. Swanson.
Mr. Chair and Representative Hewitt, there are typically sort of 1 or 2 a year that end up at this point where there's legislation that would be needed in order for the city to receive their full LGA payment for the prior year. I believe last year's tax bill had 2 of these provisions in it.
Representative Hewitt.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Well, thank you, Representative Gillman, for bringing this
Yeah.
and taking care of your district and the small communities that sometimes they miss things and miss deadlines, and we're just trying to help them. So thank you for bringing it.
Thank you so much.
All right, Chair renews his motion that House File 5177 be laid over for possible inclusion in the Property Tax Division report. The bill is laid over. Thank you so much, and thank you for the treats.
Yes, you're welcome.
All right, that concludes today. And so we are working, this is the last day, so thank you for bringing the treats. So, but the schedule moving forward is a little bit in flux because we're off next Wednesday when we typically meet. And then so what we're trying to do is find a time where we can walk through the bill, any amendments, and then, do markup. So we'll be in touch when we can kind of collectively find a time where we have the most people, because there's a lot of different, bills being heard, and we're coming up on deadlines, so. Representative Kwong.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and our side saved some extra treats for you.
Thank you.
So you'll be in a good mood when we discuss when we need to meet.
Thank you so much. We are adjourned. Thank you.